Can you imagine how proud you would feel if you were solving the world's most complex and pressing problems that could save billions of people now and in the future? Exactly. That's what I want to talk about. Also, I highly recommend to watch till the end because I have some secret sauce I want to talk about. So without further ado, let's get started. Max Einstein is a genius and extraordinary 12-year-old, which means she's not your ordinary girl. She hacked a computer at New York University so that she could attend college classes. She even eventually started teaching there at the age of 12. She's an orphan who remembers nothing about her parents, and all she has is her suitcase, which she's had ever since she was a little baby, filled with books about physics and other types of science, and photos of her idol, Albert Einstein, who she talks to, well, just in her imagination. She's so smart that lots of institutes were crazy about hiring her. But unfortunately, some of those institutes also wanted to use her, including the Corp. The Corp was based in Montana, where their goal was to create an AI computer using Max Einstein's brain. And they were so crazy about finding her. So crazy, I'm telling you. It all started. Max Einstein was going to the university after she had played speed chess with her friend Mr. Weinstock at one of the most famous parks in New York City, because she loved speed chess and was really good at it. But on her way, she was kidnapped by two men in black suits. They took her to foster care and said, "You're too young to go to college. So from now on, you're staying in foster care until, I don't know, forever. And you have to go to a normal middle school." Max didn't like that idea at all. But she couldn't do anything. Every day at middle school, she would feel bored, frustrated, annoyed, disappointed, all those negative feelings. She even once got detention because of sleeping in class. But then, a miracle happened. A few days later, Mr. Weinstock introduced her to two young adults, Charles and Isabel. They had some accent which Max had no idea how to describe. But thankfully, Mr. Weinstock knew where she was and said that they were adopting Max. The lady there had no clue what the Corp was planning to do, so she had let them adopt her. And they took her to a Chinese restaurant where they picked up a lot of food. Max explained that that food was for her friends at the stables where she had previously lived because they were homeless. And she explained that she didn't want them to starve the night. So when they had purchased the food, Isabel paid with cash. Hundreds of dollars were in her wallet. Hundreds of dollars worth of cash. So they went back to the stables where they gave all the food. And not too long later, like 30 minutes later, the Corp had went to the stables. And Isabel was smart enough to pay with cash because with a credit card you could track where the person is headed. Mr. Weinstock was smelling like fresh noodles, like the sauce of noodles. And he said, "Oh, I think they're going to Milwaukee." And so the corp decided to believe him. And they said they were happy to know because they really needed to find Max. And plus, the lady had no idea what their plan was. And they were pretty mad when they found out that somebody was adopting Max. So then, since Isabel was a maniac at driving, they had to drive as fast as they could without the police noticing. And they went to Jerusalem, where Max found out she was competing for a spot as the team leader of this, to her, a CMI team thing for solving the world's hardest and biggest crises. And there were 8 other competitors. Annika from Japan. She's into biology. And then Vihan from Mumbai, India. He's a PhD at the age of 13. And he's into quantum mechanics. He even teaches at a university. And his hero is Mahatma Gandhi. You all should know Mahatma Gandhi as much as, Albert Einstein. But Max's idol, Albert Einstein, he's the most famous physics scientist in the whole world. Sorry, not whole world. World. And then we can't forget about Hannah, the girl from Japan. She only eats plants for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And she believes that plants are the new meat, which is kind of confusing, but that's her belief. Then comes Toma from China. He is into astrology and wants to travel to Mars one day. Then comes the sausage-loving boy, Klaus, from Poland. He's into AI and also loves building robots. But his most important trait is that he loves eating sausages. And then we have Tisha from Kenya. Her father is the richest of men in Kenya, but that has nothing to do with her being on this team. She's into lab experimenting. And not gonna lie, she's pretty good at it. Then we have Siobhan. Siobhan is from Ireland, and she is into, let's say, she's also into experimenting, but she uses more advanced tools, and she's also into paleontology as well. And last but not least, Keto. Keto is from Oakland, California, and he loves computer science. He's even an expert at hacking. Ask him to hack a computer, he can do it for you. Max is into everything a little bit, but her most important trait is that she was good at making ideas. Using all these little traits, she can easily come up with an idea of how to use the beauty of science in these ideas to help solve these big crises. And when they took the test, it was supposed to take 8 hours. Max finished it in 20 minutes, but there was a little twist. She only answered 2 of the questions. The last 2 questions were the most important questions, and they had to do with the other questions as she believed. So it was no point of answering the other 48 questions, which the judges took some time to actually agree with, but she ended up being the winner. And she had her team of adults. But Max specifically said that she wanted to be with those kids because they're kids, and kid geniuses would make the best team, as she believed. So they worked on many crises, but their very first world crisis that they worked on was in Africa, where they worked on like electricity issues, because since it's so hot there during summer, the power went out, and like they had to work on it. And it took some time since it was their first mission, but they were able to manage to help. They tried putting clothes over the solar panels, and it turns out it worked. It cooled it down, like the solar panels down, and the electricity started working again. But then Dr. Zim, the leader of this team of Corp, he went to Africa, and it's a mystery how he found out, but he had someone in hiding named Yahav, who was working as an undercover spy and pretending to work for the CMI. He was spying on Max for them, and when they found out, they were not happy about it. Well, the CMI, of course. He didn't manage to find her, and he had even told them at the Albert Einstein Archives, where Annika and Max were trapped, because the Corp was right there, literally right there. They were able to manage to escape from them, because they were both fast runners. He had tried to convince that he knew a lot about Max's parents and what happened to them, and he promised to tell her everything about them. But Max said she was more interested in learning about the future instead of the past. And Dr. Zim, very disappointed with his fail, left, and it turned out the mission was a success. And the benefactor, Benjamin Franklin Abercrombie, even mentioned that he was an orphan, and that was one of the reasons he really liked Max. He was 14 and a billionaire, and without him, this team wouldn't exist. Then goes to their next mission, a sickness problem in Ireland. Siobhan had come to get Max, and the problem was that the Corp had created a very smart robot named Leonard, who was able to track Max down by using this phone Claus had been given, the new model that hadn't been come out yet. But then when they found out that this phone was supposed to track them down and wasn't sent by just any fan of Claus, it was sent by Dr. Zim. They couldn't trust the phone, but they decided to get the hardware that was tracking them down, and so that Claus could still use the phone. And so they went to Ireland and found out that E. coli was the problem. Why people were getting sick because of the water. Thankfully, they had the genius lab experimenter, Tisha, with them. And Tisha and Siobhan decided to stay there. But then, a much worse crisis was happening in India. A water crisis. Water was so dirty, and they didn't even know why it was dirty. Well, the people of India didn't. Max decided to try working with bubbles as her main objective. And they were able to get away with it and pull over it. And the same machine they used, the same type of robots that Claus had used, because Tisha, Siobhan, and Claus had arrived back from Ireland because they had to filter out all the wells there, and that's a lot of wells in Ireland. Claus had used a filtering robot in India as well, because the water, people were scamming others. They were saying the water was clean, fresh, but really in general, it was really dirty, and people were too lazy to, the scammers were really lazy to try to filter it out. But thanks to Claus's robotic filter, they were able to manage to save India as well. But Max was kidnapped. Yeah, the Corp had managed to kidnap her, but Dr. Zim was fired and shot in the thigh with a tranquilizer pistol. And so he was fired because he was not able to get Max. But then Leonard was able to capture Max, and Max made a little deal. If she had lost the game, she would come work for the Corp. If Leonard had lost, he would come work for the CMI. And when Leonard lost, he wasn't ready to accept the deal of going. But then Claus was acting smart, and he was there, and he rebooted his system and turned him into Leo, and he still knew stuff about the Corp, and he could even check if they had any idea where they were or not. And then they went back home. Max, since she had gotten in her new apartment, it felt really nice to have her own home. And plus, the Corp couldn't find her because they had 24-hour security maximum prism. Plus, she was going by a different name there, and the Corp would never suspect it. At least that's what they hoped it was. The third mission, well, not the third mission, the fourth mission was World Hunger. And World Hunger is a really big deal because millions of people are dying every day of world hunger because they're not able to manage to get enough food, and since prices of food are going really high, it was really hard for people to be able to pay, especially people who don't have that much money to pay for their own groceries every day. And Max found out that Hannah was betraying them. She was working for the Corp along with Miss Coupland. And she even became the new team member. Well, the team leader. And Miss Coupland had only chose her so that they could be able to lure the whole CMI team to the Corp. And that's how they were able to find out where they were the whole time. And Hannah was sent a one-way home ticket to Japan. And yeah, Miss Coupland was taken to jail. World hunger is too much of an issue that Max really wasn't able to complete the mission. But she knew that she could find solutions to ending world hunger. And they decided to have a donation every center. They decided to create that. And even Hannah was regretting being evil. And she had apologized to Max. Max had forgiven her. But unfortunately, since her actions were taken too far, she had to be kicked off the team. Which comes to our fifth mission. Global warming. Very dangerous. It can make polar bears, penguins go extinct because in the Arctic, global warming's happening, and since polar bears and penguins can't survive in the very hot weather, it was really hard for them to, solve it, because global warming has started getting worse and worse over the years to come. And plus, they had 2 new team members. One of them was into social media. The other was more of the person who was replacing Hannah. And they were able to stay, but some miracle happened. Plus, Professor Von Hinkel, he was the replacement of Dr. Zim. In these 2 missions, he also failed to capture Max. But then there was someone else going after them, a billionaire. And Benjamin had temporarily gone broke because they were able to manage to take the money away from him. But he got back to normal. And when Max went back to her apartment in New York, Albert Einstein was there. Crazy, right? Max had found out her real name was Dorothy on her way. And Albert had explained to her that her parents were coming to the future to give her a cake for her birthday. Max thought it was the happiest day of her life. And that's the end of the story. But the secret sauce is work smarter, not harder. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications while you're at it. I'll see you guys in the next video.